Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. Thank you once again for tuning in. We do these live streams every single morning talking about the latest cryptocurrency news, taking a look at the markets, and we've seen some volatility yesterday as well. So we will discuss this. We will discuss the effect that the US Department of Justice had on the price of Bitcoin, how the price is looking now, and I will give a little bit of chart analysis. So let's start off taking a look at CoinMarketCap first. We are currently on $20,787 for Bitcoin and $1,524 for Ethereum. Now, that's just reminded me, I had pulled this up so that I didn't forget. Don't forget to go over to our site, cryptosavingexpert.com, and make sure to sign up to get that very exciting email dropping into your email box very, very soon with a very exciting announcement. I can't wait for you to all hear this, but we've got to keep it under wraps for now. I don't think Jordan will like if I spill the beans on that one. So let's take a look now at the Bitcoin chart and see what's happening here. Currently, I have this level of resistance that we've managed to break through down here, and this is currently at around $18,600. Now, as Jordan speaks about a lot on his YouTube channel, we have some CME gaps. We have a CME gap down at $20,000, and we have a CME gap up at $28,000, and these act like magnets for the price of Bitcoin. If we zoom in closer to the chart, I don't know why my lines have come off this chart, but we can draw them back on again. We were inside this channel for Bitcoin, and we had this level of resistance here, and we have this level of support here. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this channel and deciding which direction it was going to go. Honestly, it's just one of those chart patterns that you're going to have to wait and see which direction it breaks out of. And because of the US Department of Justice's announcement yesterday and the way they announced it with this whole mysterious atmosphere that they provided, the price of Bitcoin crashed and we broke through that level of support. So that support is down at $21,000. We've now broken through that. If we go to the smaller time frames, you can see we actually used it as a level of resistance as well. So I'm being cautious right now on the price of Bitcoin. If we take a look at where the levels of support are, we actually have drawn these on previously. I'm looking at these levels here as levels of support for the price of Bitcoin right now, and we seem to have been using them pretty nicely. It looks like we are actually currently holding that $20,750 level, and hopefully we continue to hold that. If not, we'll be looking down at the $20,600 level, and if not, the $20,480 level. But that's just in the short time for me. I expect if we break through these, then we may be looking down at closing that CME gap down at $20,000. And if that were to happen, yes, we'd see prices to the downside, but it would be quite good for the markets. I've just remembered we need to send out today's tweet to help get more people to realize that we're on the live stream. That would help, wouldn't it? So seeing us move to the downside for Bitcoin wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because we'd create more supports. We'd see consolidation within these price levels, and that is positive. We've seen here if we zoom out quickly onto the daily chart, we had this huge drop to the downside, demolishing any levels of supports that we had. And then because of that, we could zoom up pretty quickly because there's no levels of resistance that we had to break through. If we do the same on the way, if we go up in a straight line with no levels of resistance, then we don't have any levels of support either. So it's important to come down and consolidate and retest those levels and make sure we can build these levels of support in for the price of Bitcoin. Now, taking a look at the news for the day, let's see what is happening over here. We have Coinbase officially announces Japan exit. So San Francisco-based Coinbase crypto exchange has officially announced its plans to exit the Japanese market. Coinbase disclosed its plans in a blog post that explained that the current bear market conditions were the main reason it made the difficult decision to leave the country. So we're seeing different exchanges getting regulated in jurisdictions and others being removing out of different jurisdictions. It's just part of crypto, something that we'll have to accept. Japan obviously has a number of other exchanges that those users can move to. It doesn't have a detrimental effect on cryptocurrency whatsoever. Let's now make sure that we have everything running smoothly. Let's put a like goal on today's video. It's just me on today's video, so let's try and hit 50 likes on today's video. It might be a little high, but let's try and get it. Hello, Hamzak. Hello, Colin. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Once again, if you are new here, sorry, we do these every single day and talk about what's happening within the markets, go through the latest cryptocurrency news, and take a look at the Bitcoin price as well. And right now, everything is incredibly volatile. So it's a very interesting time, so make sure to continue tuning in. 2023, I believe, is going to be a bullish year from start to end, but along the way, there's going to be huge amounts of volatility. And then 2024 and 2025 are going to be incredible years to be in crypto. We've got that Bitcoin halving predicted to be in March 2024, which is a nice catalyst for the markets to move to the upside. So being in the markets now is super important. And one way to get yourself involved in the markets is just listening to what's happening in the news every day. You pick up on different things of what's happening and how it affects the markets, and you learn so much from doing so. So that's why we're doing these live streams, to try and help you all. So make sure to tune in every single day. And by the time the bull market really comes in full force, you'll know everything you need to know about crypto. So moving on to the next article here, we have Kraken. Others see substantial Bitcoin outflows as investors embrace self-custody. So we've seen a huge decline in the amount of Bitcoin on cryptocurrency exchanges, and this has gone from 11.85% to 6.65%, and this change is over a year. So we are seeing, after the FTX collapse and after the FUD over every other centralized exchange that exists, people moving their cryptocurrencies off centralized exchanges into self-custody wallets, and this is such a good thing. This is something we preach here on the channel, to move over to self-custody. You need to be your own bank. You need to look after your own funds, not your keys, not your crypto. Some people don't like this, and I understand some people don't like this. Some people don't actually want to be responsible for their own funds and looking after their funds correctly. And that is understandable. It is all personal preference. And some people have to use centralized exchanges. We all use centralized exchanges as a fiat on and off ramp, and we all use them to trade in the short term. It's much easier to trade on a centralized exchange, and you can add leverage and things like that if you are trading in the short term, but that's all usually a small percentage of your portfolio. The majority of your portfolio, to keep it safe, should be in self-custody wallets. So that is what people have been hearing, and people have actually taken the advice this year. This is something that we've preached for years and years and years, and people haven't really listened to. But now we've seen what can actually happen with centralized exchanges. People are actually making that move. The positive thing about this is the cryptocurrencies coming off the centralized exchanges being moved to self-custody wallets means the balance on cryptocurrency exchanges is going down. Therefore, when demand increases, they'll need to be buying a whole lot more cryptocurrency as well, pushing demand higher. And it's just this win-win scenario that once the wheels rolling, it'll just continue rolling. Demand will increase and increase and increase. We'll see a huge, nice move to the upside for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other good cryptocurrencies that have good utility and are deserving of a higher valuation than they are right now. So moving on to the next article, seeing what's happening over here. Troubled crypto firm DCG suspends dividend payments to preserve cash. So the troubled firm noted that the move would help cut operating costs and preserve cash during the current bear market. And DCG said in a letter, in response to the current market environment, DCG has been focused on strengthening our balance sheet by reducing operating expenses and preserving liquidity. As such, we have made the decision to suspend DCG's quarterly dividend distribution until further notice. I don't know why they were giving out dividends when they were in a loss anyway, but we have more news coming from DCG in just a second. Let's get to that first. I've done these all in the wrong order. Let's move to here, and then we'll go back a few steps in a minute. You've just had a sneak peek of what's to show in today's live stream. Don't forget, if you have just joined, to press like, press subscribe, press the bell notification button. We're on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers, and we're trying to get 50 likes in today's live stream. We are currently on, I believe, 18 likes, so we're almost there. Let's continue pressing that like button and helping with the algorithm. Let's carry on now to this article. DCG Genesis Global is reportedly preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So Genesis is the platform in which Gemini, the cryptocurrency exchange run by the Winklevoss twins, was lending their earn section of the platform. Right, let me start that again. When Gemini, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, you can deposit your funds into there, and you can use the earn section. And there, when you lock away your funds in their earn section, you earn interest every day, I believe it is, on Gemini, or it might vary to a couple of weeks as well. So those funds, for them to earn the interest to pay to you, they were lending those funds to Genesis. And now Genesis has gone bankrupt. And this whole thing has caused a huge debate over on Twitter. We've seen open letters between DCG and between the Winklevoss twins trying to sort out this hole in the balance sheet and how Gemini can refund its users. But now we are seeing DCG's Genesis. DCG is the parent company of Genesis, which is the one that was getting the funds lent to it. Genesis is rumored to be preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, according to a Bloomberg report, citing people familiar with the situation. And Genesis could file for bankruptcy as soon as this week. Crypto Twitter community member AP Abacus has shared a familiar forecast of Genesis announcing a bankruptcy filing no later than earlier this week, as seen in the tweet below. Genesis had earlier laid off 30% of its workforce, and the crypto lender has had difficulty raising $1 billion in funding. So we've seen this all unravel, and we've been reporting this as it has happened here on the channel. We have another article about this. This is the arguments I was talking about on Twitter just a second ago. Gemini's Cameron Winklevoss has requested DCG's board to remove Barry Silbert as CEO because they couldn't work. They were trying to cooperate with him, and apparently they weren't getting the conclusions that they wanted. But taking a look at the next article here, seeing what's happening, DCG's CoinDesk hires bankers to explore potential sale. So the popular crypto-focused media company CoinDesk, wholly owned by DCG, is currently weighing options for growth, which may include a potential sale. So now DCG is reportedly filing for bankruptcy, and they own Coinbase. Coinbase may be looking to sell Coinbase to fill some of that hole within their losses that they've seen. Jerome has said, Jess, how do you decide when to take profits? My personal trading strategy is always honestly, the most profitable trading strategy that I have found over and over and over again is dollar cost average when the price is down, when everyone's feeling bearish, when being on crypto Twitter is horrible because everyone is so nasty and fighting all of the time. That's the time to dollar cost average. That when you're in profit, when you've seen a nice pump, take profits while you've got them, because we never know how long a pump is going to last. Yes, in the long term, we expect to see cryptocurrencies have a huge rise, but in the short term, we want to make sure we still have that liquidity so that when the next move to the downside comes, we have that liquidity to begin dollar cost averaging again. Obviously, this is not financial advice. This is just the method that I use and has been the most successful for me. And that way you can keep the majority of your portfolio out of leverage. Leverage trading is very, very fun, but it's also, you should be used with a small percentage of your portfolio. The rest of your portfolio, you can store it in cold storage for a part-time, and some of it, you can also make this strategy of dollar cost averaging, taking profits, dollar cost averaging, taking profits. And then also my strategy is that once I have taken profits from altcoins, I like to move that into Bitcoin. I made the mistake in the previous bull market of every time I took profits from a really low cap altcoin that performed really well, I'd put those profits into another really cap altcoin that could perform really well. And I just kept overexposing myself to those low cap altcoins. And then when the markets dropped, they were the first ones that got hit, and they would drop so much. So I've learned from those mistakes, and it's so important to think about what you did wrong in the last bull market so you can improve for this bull market. Every time I take profits from those riskier assets, I move them either into cash for liquidity for the next bull dip, or I move them into higher cap altcoins like Bitcoin or like Ethereum. And that is my strategy. That is how I'm treating this bull market. And so far it's proven pretty well. So that is what we're going to continue with on my end, but nothing is financial advice. That is just my own opinion. Colin said, I got in just as it was all blowing up, made some good gains, and yes, hodled all the way to zero. Luna was a problem too. Luna ruined a lot of our portfolios. I was affected by this too. I know Jordan was affected by this too. There was a huge amount of money withdrawn from the cryptocurrency space. It wasn't a nice time to be in cryptocurrency, but well done for sticking around and continuing from that point. If you entered at that point and you've gone through all of this horrible time and you haven't really seen the gains that we could see in the previous bull market to realize what you are waiting for, you have done incredibly well. And I assure you that I expect that you will do even better in the next bull market when the time does arrive. So let's move on now to the next article. We need to reverse a little bit because we went a little bit ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look now at, it was this article, Bitcoin miners restart their rigs as Bitcoin erases FTX linked losses. So we've seen FTX's price, we've seen Bitcoin's price go back. This is when the FTX loss occurred on the Bitcoin charts, and you can see we have erased those losses and moved back up to before FTX occurred. Now, obviously, the markets are still affected by that. We have a huge amount of fear about centralized exchanges. We're seeing a huge amount of withdrawals from centralized exchanges. But the worst things out of that situation have now happened, and the markets can now move on from this. We're not going to be affected by FTX forever. We've seen worse within the cryptocurrency space, and we've moved on from them, and that is exactly what's going to happen here too. Taking a look at this, Bitcoin miners restart their rigs as Bitcoin erases FTX-linked losses. So the miners, but to be a cryptocurrency miner, especially any cryptocurrency miner, actually, you need good hardware and you need to pay the electricity costs, and the good hardware costs an absolute fortune, because when you are mining Bitcoin, you need to complete a complex cryptographic puzzle first. So you are competing with other cryptocurrency mining rigs to do so, and therefore you need to put a huge amount of electricity into that machine so it can work at its full potential, so that you can potentially win that race. If you win that race, you can add a block onto the blockchain and you can earn 6.25 Bitcoin as a block reward. But when the price of Bitcoin comes down, so let's go back a little bit. Every time we do this, we need to pay for those electricity fees. We need to pay back the costs of the hardware. So cryptocurrency miners, when they receive this 6.25 Bitcoin, they're selling that Bitcoin in order to cover those fees or those costs. When the price of Bitcoin comes down, that means they need to sell more Bitcoin in order to cover those costs. And over the last year, we've seen Bitcoin completely dip in this bear market. And those costs, they've had to sell so much Bitcoin that many cryptocurrency miners have actually gone bankrupt. And many have just had to turn off their rigs and wait for more positive prices for Bitcoin, so that the amount of Bitcoin they're earning covers the costs they're spending, because it ended up not being beneficial to have these mining rigs on at certain prices, because these are on huge scales. When you look at a mining rig, you'll see there's thousands and thousands of machines on the walls, and they're all turned on at full power trying to earn that Bitcoin reward. So that's what's happening here, but they've been turned back on again. A lot of them, we can see the Bitcoin network has seen in the recent 10% increment in mining difficulty earlier this week. So we're seeing them come back to life, and this is positive. We're securing the network more, building the blockchain, we're moving forwards, and this is positive for the price of Bitcoin as well. Moving on to the next article we have here, International Crypto Enforcement. So this is the action that caused the dip in Bitcoin's price yesterday. Let's go over this now. First of all, we were up here trading within this channel on the 1 hour chart pretty nicely. We had done for about 4 days. Before we get into this video, please don't make sure, before we get into this section of the video, please make sure to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button to help us reach that 100,000 subscriber goal. And we're trying to reach 50 likes on today's stream. We're currently on 25, halfway there. Let's continue going through today's news. Maybe we'll get a little bit closer. Let's take a look at the chat. Colin said, I'm struggling to keep up with all the feed they're throwing out. I think I need to give up working to follow it all. Proper on it though, and with the bangers Jordan's throwing out, we should all do very well in the next few years. Yes, fingers crossed, we all do very well in the next few years. We've been working hard to create as much content as possible. We are building the website behind the scenes as well, and hopefully, if you stay up to date and put your Crypto Saving Expert notifications on, then you'll be able to sign up and get some emails that will tell you some very exciting announcements. So taking a look now at the Bitcoin chart to show where we at. We were here. The news yesterday that the US Department of Justice were going to make an announcement at 5 p.m. UTC. I think it was midday ET time. Taking a look at the Bitcoin chart, we actually absolutely tanked. We fell through that level of support that we'd held for 4 days at that point. We've been in it since the 14th of January, and we fell through that level of support off of the fear of what they were going to announce. Now, taking a look at what they actually did announce was this. The US seizes Russian cryptocurrency exchange Bitslato and charges Bitslato founder I'm not going to try and say his name because I know I won't be able to say it. So he was detained last night in Miami, so 2 nights ago in Miami, to announce the seizure of the Russian cryptocurrency exchange Bitslato, which was used for dark web transactions. Representatives from the FBI, the Office of Foreign Asset Control, the Financial Criminal Enforcement Network, and the Eastern District of New York joined Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco on stage. They also announced that the founder was taken into custody Friday night in Miami. This multi-agencies operation counted on FinCEN to gather data from financial institutions and keep an eye out for questionable activities, while the OFAC manages the US sanctions program. And today, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network of the US Department of Treasury published an order designating the virtual currency exchange Bitslato Limited as a primary money laundering concern concerning illicit Russian finance. So basically, they've made this whole announcement, made a huge amount of within the markets. If you go on crypto Twitter right now, everybody's laughing because no one's really heard of Bitslato before, obviously, because a lot of people on there are UK and US based, but this is a Chinese based exchange, I believe. He was reportedly the business operations support and facilitate Russian illicit finance and pose a threat to American national security as well as the integrity of the country's financial system. So when this happened and we actually saw that they were making good, I think they've made this whole show of this to show that they are making action to try and help the cryptocurrency industry be a little bit less of a money laundering concern, and etc. etc. So by making this whole show, they're showing that they're making actions after FTX and they're not letting all of these things continue to go under the rug. They're actually solving some of the problems within the space. But when we realized that they were doing so, the price of Bitcoin started to move back upwards again. And now we're just consolidating at these levels. So it was more just the fear that had an impact on the price more than anything. Now we are down below these levels. I think that news is pretty irrelevant to the price of Bitcoin now. We have unfortunately broken through that level of support. We are now looking at these levels of support instead, and we need to keep an eye out for the CME gap at $20,000 and at $28,000. They're the two things I'm looking out for right now. The fear and greed index seems to have risen quite a lot. Let's see where that is at today, because I haven't looked at that today. See what we are looking at. If we take a look here, it says we're at 45. So there's a little bit more fear in the markets than there were yesterday, surprisingly, after the drop that we have seen. But overall, it's not looking too concerning. I'd be interested to see if we can hold these supports today and see which CME gap we are going to close first. But really, that is all from me today. Bitcoin is currently at $20,750. Ethereum is at $1,520. But that is all from me. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. doing another live stream talking about the latest cryptocurrency news and giving a little bit of analysis as well. So please make sure to press like, press subscribe, press the bell notification button, and help us on our way to 100,000 subscribers. And don't forget to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and sign up for this very exciting email that you will see in your email box very, very soon. Thank you very much.